Good afternoon, and welcome to the Black Ibis Social Club. I'm your host, Alexandra Constantine, and tonight we've got filling in for Fisto, the amazing Lisa Kuznak. Hey, what's up, Lisa? Welcome. No, she's here somewhere.
I forgot to unmute my mic. Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks for filling in for Fisto while he's
Hey,
out
no problem.
doing saving the world or whatever the hell he's doing. He's probably listening. No, but he was busy today. He had
Yeah.
a planned vacation day. So I decided to invite Lisa, and I was like, "Hey, let's cover your favorite movie," and which happens to be one of my favorite movies, also, and it's Total Recall. And we've talked about doing Total Recall for a long time.
Yes, we have.
But before we start, I was going to say Happy 4th of July. I hope you had a good 4th of July, Lisa, but you didn't because you're
I had a
Canadian.
first of July. Yeah.
Right. Do you guys have a different holiday? It's the 1st of July in Canada.
Yeah. July 1st is Canada Day. Yeah. But it's essentially the same sort of idea. Like it's when we became our own country instead of being, you know, like we're still part of the Commonwealth, but we're more separate now. We still have the king on our money, but yeah. So we celebrate Canada Day on July 1st. And it's basically the same idea, though. Fireworks, barbecue, that sort of thing.
And all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let me sure I get the comments up for YouTube, just in case people comment on YouTube. I neglect YouTube all the time. Yeah, so I had a very mellow 4th of July. I'm trying to think what I did. I ended up working. So I worked in the morning, which kind of was meh. And when I got home, I watched Total Recall. That's what I did when I got home. So 4th of July, I watched Total Recall. That way we can talk about it today. And obviously it's not the first time, but I'll get into that. Mm-hmm. And then I took a nap, and then we went to the pool. It was really cool because it was mellow. The pool was like it was like my community pool, and not a lot of people. Met some new people. I moved to the neighborhood, came home, made some dinner, and walked around the neighborhood. Now, one of the things that I was planning on doing on 4th of July was going to the beach with a few friends. There's a tiki bar over there, and the beach in our area is like a kind of like a tourist resorty place. It's on the island. There's a bridge to the island, right? It's not like a out there island, but it's a bridge to the island. And it's kind of like a rich, kind of bougie area. A lot of people come down, and my friend's like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the tiki place. It's gonna be cool." I was like, "I don't know, man. That's a lot of traffic going to the island and back. There's a lot of boomers. I don't have the energy to do that, and I'm not really drinking anymore." Well, I'm glad I didn't, because there was a shooting on the beach. All right.
Oh my
Bougie
goodness.
boomer spot had a shooting. My friend messaged me. He's like, "Oh, well, there was a shooting on the beach." Now, okay, this isn't like Myrtle Beach or any of the notorious places, right? This is like like I said, it's a boomer spot, man, right?
Yeah.
And of course there was a shooting, and of course it was the usual suspects. And I was like, man, that's how you radicalize people. And the last 5 days at work, it's just been people going like, that's why we can't have nice things and blah blah blah. And you look at the newspaper, not the newspaper, but an online newspaper, and it's like nobody is shocked who did the shooting, and you're like,
yeah.
And now the city's like, oh, we're gonna ban teenagers from. There's gonna be a curfew for teens after 8. But it's not teens. It's not all teens that are out there shooting people. It's a specific type of teen that's out there shooting people. It's black people shooting people, and it's like, how fucking tedious again. So now all teenagers cannot go to the beach after 8 o'clock because hood rats from out of town decide to shoot up the beach. Like, what kind of a person's like, yeah, I'm going to go on 4th of July and shoot up the beach? Of course, nobody was killed because, the usual law of averages is that 7 people injured, nobody killed. And I forgot what that law was called, but
yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's hey, look, fucking 4th of July America, the greatest country in the world. Yay, beach shooting in an expensive neighborhood where people pay $1 million to live in homes. Yeah, fuck this, and it's just one of those things that makes you very, very bitter about this kind of stuff, because you're like, what, maybe I do want to live in like totalitarian China where I can go to the fucking beach at a tiki bar without getting shot by random retards, I'll take the social score thing, dude. if I can take my kid to the beach on 4th of July, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't know, that doesn't make me feel like America. You know,
Mhm.
I don't feel like, yay, you know, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's America for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where I am, like, I live in, we're very regularly ranked as like the murder capital of Canada, but it isn't random people. Well, actually, this year there was a couple, or last year there was a couple like random attacks. There was a lady who was going for a jog and got randomly attacked by some crazy dude. Uh, and then I think it was last year, right by my son's school too, which really pisses me off. He was waiting for the bus. It was an elderly guy, and he was standing there waiting for the bus and got clubbed with a hammer. But for the most part, it's like if you aren't dealing or taking drugs, if you aren't hanging around certain areas of town, you're probably not going to get stabbed. Um, but yet, um, murder capital. So it's gotten weirder though. The homelessness crisis has really made things very weird. Um, we have like they're trying to get like designated tent cities and stuff, but the place where the lady was attacked was right near one of the designated sites, which is like, so it was also in like a really touristy area, like one of the places where, oh, you're coming here, you definitely have to check out this park, it's gorgeous, right? So she's going for a jog, gets attacked, and where they have the designated tent city is like there's like soccer pitches and like a World War One memorial and all this stuff, and that's where they decide to have the designated tent city. Also, like right next to this gorgeous park where this lady got attacked, used to be the building is still there, but it's unoccupied. The provincial asylum, I guess you could call it. But we don't have asylums anymore, right? And they don't even want to tear the building down because it would be too expensive. So it's just sitting there rotting. And every time you drive by it, you're reminded, there used to be buildings where we used to stick these people.
Yeah, we should build a building for people like that. It's called an
Yeah.
incinerator. Straight to the
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
straight the air hole in
and
Mars.
then yeah, and then down the block there's the jail that is way outdated and overcrowded, and they go in and then they get right back out again, and then they go
Right.
in and then they get right back out again. So it's a problem everywhere, but
All right. And the only reason I bring this up, because starting the new American 250th birthday with a shooting on an expensive beach
yeah,
that
yeah,
I live next to, because I moved here away to get away from that kind of crap in California. It's
yeah,
if old boomers can't go to the beach anymore, what's the point? What's the point of
yeah,
paying taxes? What's up, Greg? Um, well, for you guys that just joined us, we're talking about the recent shooting on 4th of July here by where I live, where some usual suspects decided to shoot 7 people on the beach. Of course, nobody died, but it was and then the new moral outrage: no more teens on the beach after 8 o'clock. Oh, cool,
yeah,
guys.
because it's an
It's
age issue.
teens.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
teens from the local lacrosse team that were the ones shooting up other people at the beach, right?
yeah,
It was the tennis team. The tennis team teams were out there shooting each other, and then, get the fuck out of here, And because we can't have any honest conversations in this country, we'll just keep on turning into donut cities and keep on turning into further and further suburbs, and
yep.
that's where we'll be forever.
Well, the other problem too, like where I live. Okay, so we are very, very far from Toronto, but we're still in the same province. And the way that Canada is built is that there's one fucking highway that goes through the entire country. So if you're going from east to west to
Check your
deal
mic.
drugs, drugs, for example,
That's good.
you have to come through down the same highway that where I live is we're right on the highway. So we're kind of like
Hey, Lisa,
the
what? Reset your mic real fast. You're getting some static.
Better?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Fuck, that happens every time I record. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured it out yet.
It's
So
probably
anyway,
the Canadian
yeah,
spirits and
yeah,
interfering on the
yeah.
electromagnetic
I'm on like
frequency.
some burial ground or something. Um, but yeah, what was I saying now? Right. So we're right on the highway, and we're right on like that boundary between like Eastern Canada and Western Canada. So like even like back during Prohibition, we were considered like the Wild West. So our jails are stuffed with like the guys in the GTA, the Toronto area. They send all their fucking idiots up here, like their flunkies up here to, with their firearms and guns and drugs and whatever. They come here, they shoot themselves in the foot, like literally. That's a story from a local bar. There was a gang issue outside the bar, and the guy takes his gun out and shoots himself in the foot. Anyway, so that's our shootings here, right? But yeah, none of our like all of our problems are for people from out of town. Like
Right.
all the locals, they might be redneck, stupid, like whatever you want to, stereotype rural Canadians as. But yeah, most of the violence is not from people from here. They're all from fucking Toronto.
Right. That's how it is. That's how it is here too.
Yeah.
It's like but I mean the place is growing. So with growing people,
Yeah.
the reason I bring it up, this is not just unrelated chatter here. Okay. There's a point to this. The point to this is that I was thinking, I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, you know what? There's that American saying, I think it was Benjamin Franklin said, give me liberty or give me death, or something like that. Like he who wants security over liberty deserves neither. I think it's one of those guys, Jefferson Franklin, one of those Freemason members of the Hellfire Club kind of guys.
Yeah.
The thing is, as a 43-year-old, I'm like, you know what? Let me get some of that security, bro, because I'm pretty sick of this liberty. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm about done. I want the liberty to go to the fucking beach. That's what I want. Okay. I want the liberty to be able to drive to the store in the afternoon and evening without having to worry about getting shot by some retarded hood rat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want. And this whole like liberty and safety and security thing is really the theme of, or it really, the anarchy of, the tyranny of, what is it? What is it? A tyrannical anarchy or whatever is the theme of the first movie in the Verhoeven sci-fi trilogy, which is RoboCop, right?
Yep.
And if you're not familiar with RoboCop,
you should be, for one.
You should be. It's one of the best science fiction movies of the 80s, in a decade of fantastic science fiction movies.
Yeah.
And kind of the theme about that is that OCP, the corporation, is allowing crime to fester and go insane in Detroit so they can solve it and build a new Detroit. And the kind of the key element is its Ed 209 model, RoboCop, android robot. But I'm at the point where, like, you know what, man, I kind of want some Ed 209s to be policing my neighborhoods. Okay. I'm kind of okay with it now. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm at that point where I'm kind of over it. I kind of want to go be able to go to the park.
Do I remember right? Judge Dredd was also like a real estate scheme too, wasn't it?
Right. It was. They're all kind of real estate schemes.
Yeah.
But the main villain in RoboCop went on to become the main villain in Total Recall. Right.
That's right. Same actor. Yeah.
Total Recall is, how children, if you guys that have kids or that were once kids and can remember it, most kids have like that Disney movie that they watch over and over and over, like 30 billion times. My daughter kind of changed for a while. She really like Raya, where she watched that over and over, which is the one with the finding like the ghosts, like the dark people that turn people to stone. And she really liked Encanto. Yeah, she really liked Encanto for a while, which Encanto at least had some really good songs. She's had a bunch of different movies. She watched Coraline over and over and over for a while, and Monster House, which is a fantastic movie if you've never seen it, right?
I haven't seen that one either.
She's had a bunch. She's actually kind of a varied movie watcher. But a lot of kids will have a movie. Well, me and my younger brother, our Disney movie that we watched over and over and over was 1990s Verhoeven's Total Recall. All right.
Great. Excellent choice.
The last great sci-fi movie of the 80s. Of course, it came out in 1990.
Yeah, but the 80s kind of extended. The 80s
Yeah.
did kind of extend into the 90s a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Total Recall is not a true 90s science fiction movie.
No.
Uh, it's a 80s science fiction movie. It's the last one. I think it kind of ended the 80s science fiction.
Yeah.
The RoboCop, Predator, Alien, Aliens. It ended that era. Total Recall. I mean, Terminator 2 would be a true 90s
Yes,
science
very
fiction
much
movie.
so. Yeah.
And the big change is that it goes from R to PG 13. Right. I think that's a big
And the intro of like there's some digital effects in Total Recall, but
right.
Terminator 2 is when we really, really went for the digital stuff.
Right.
Terminator 2 and the music. So the music, and if you listen to the music between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, Terminator 1 was all analog synthesizer. Terminator 2 was all digital synthesizer, and you can really hear the difference. And
Right.
that's another key difference between 80s movies and 90s movies is that shift from analog to digital, really. But yeah,
So,
Total Recall is definitely the end of the 80s era of sci-fi movies, yeah.
science fiction movies, right?
Yep.
And it's the middle of the Verhoeven trilogy. And the Verhoeven trilogy, science fiction trilogy, would be RoboCop, Total Recall in the middle, and Starship Troopers, Fisto's favorite movie ever. He always talks about.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Total Recall is the best movie. I actually
Yes.
think that Total Recall might be the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movie because
Yep.
he's really weirdly cast in this, and he's
Yep.
a very atypical Arnold movie and
Yep.
his personality. Even though in certain variations of him in this movie, he is very Arnold, which is his Hauser
Yeah.
kind of personality.
Mhm.
But so I'm going to say before we keep going, for you guys listening live right now and at home, we are going to spoil the movie. So if you've never seen Total Recall and really care about spoilers, go ahead and pause this and listen to it later and after you watch the movie. But
Yeah.
I'm not a huge believer in spoilers. As what I mean is that like spoilers don't bother me. My wife is so mad at me, and my buddy, who he's not here today because he's out bowling. Oh, he's not listening, but everybody always accuses me of being a spoiler. They're like, "Oh, Alex, you're a spoiler. You're such a spoiler. You're a movie." My daughter accuses me of being a spoiler.
Yeah.
And I don't really believe in spoilers because first of all, this movie is
It came out in 1990.
Yeah, it's we're talking about a 36-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Right? So if you should see it, whatever. I'm not gonna I'm gonna spoil it, right? Also, they've done like studies on spoilers or like learning stuff like that. And people enjoy movies more when they're spoiled or when they when they expect things. Like the only time I think that I would not give spoilers is like, for example, like like The Sixth Sense. You're like, oh, he was dead all along. Oh, spoiler, my bad.
Yeah.
He should have seen that movie already.
I think that my personal thing is like I am not a fan of being spoiled. Like I do not like spoilers. However, and actually the other day I was bitching on notes on Substack about if there's a sequel to a book and they put the spoilers from the first book in the blurb of the sequel, that shit pisses me off. However, what I didn't mention in the note was that the book series I was reading about is from like the 90s, so that's really a me problem. I do okay, so for example, when Game of Thrones was new or something like that, right? Or Mad Men,
don't spoil
like that. So, yeah, if the episode just came out like the day before, don't spoil it. Some people work or they miss the episode for whatever reason. They're going to stream it later on in the week. But Game of Thrones, for example, has been out for many, many years now. I think it's okay to spoil the show now, So like there's like a time thing. If the movie is still in theaters, you might not want to spoil it. If it's been out for a couple of years, meh.
But to be fair for everybody, this movie does have like twists and there's some reveals.
It does.
And it's very like a psychological kind of mindfuck kind of a movie. So if you're really into like not getting spoiled, go ahead because we have to talk about this because that's kind of a key element in the conversation, whether the key element. So at this point, pause it right now. Cool. All right. As of now, we're going to talk spoilers. All right. So favorite movie, favorite sci-fi movie, one of my favorite ones of the 90s. I grew up watching it. What is the basic plot? The basic plot is Arnold Schwarzenegger is this guy named Douglas Quaid. He's a mechanic. He's a construction worker on Earth. It's actually, he's like in El Paso, Texas, if you really want to be specific. That's where he's at, if you like get deep down into the trivia. So he's living in Texas with his wife. His wife's name is Lori, and they're living in El Paso, Texas. He's a construction, but he's just dreaming about Mars. This is a kind of a near future. I don't know if it says what date it is, but I would say it's like kind of a cyberpunk sort of future. It's in the future, but it's not really far in the future. Obviously, the solar system has been traveled with rockets. It doesn't seem like there's like faster than light travel or anything crazy like that. Just spaceships, but that's not it's kind of irrelevant. But Mars is colonized, and there's all kinds of unrest on Mars. There's a montage at the very beginning where he's watching the news and eating breakfast, and there's rebels and terrorists on Mars, and they're mining something called tribinium, which it's kind of an unobtainium type of thing.
Yeah, it's made
and it's for the war effort. So there's some kind of war going on, but this is like a throwaway line, throwaway backstory. But Mr. Quaid, he really wants to go to Mars, and his wife Lori is like, "WTF, bro? Mars sucks. Why do you want to go to Mars?" Like
she wants to see the rings of Saturn.
Yeah. She's like, "God, dude, the rings of Saturn. We can go to Neptune. We could just, hang out here and just bone the whole time, right? Because it's Sharon Stone.
It is peak Sharon Stone.
Right. It's peak Sharon Stone. She's like super hot in this movie, like late 80s, early 90s hot. And she's like, "Come on, dude. Let's just I'll give you a memorable trip in the bedroom." And he's like, "No, but I want to go to Mars." And he's like, "Okay." And it makes no sense, right? He's like, and then you see Mars on the TV, and it looks like ass, right? It looks like, just like a miserable, dusty, place with domes and miners and freaking explosions from terrorists. So it's like the equivalent of I'm like, "Hey man, I really have this fantasy of going to Afghanistan on a vacation. Let's go on vacation." And you're like, "Why?" Can you imagine your husband? He's like, "Lisa, I've dreamt of going to Uzbekistan my entire life. I really want to go to or Uganda.
Let's go to South Sudan."
South Sudan. And you're like, "How about we go to the Bahamas or something, bro?" Or I don't know, Hawaii, or I don't know, Japan, I don't know, anywhere cool. But that's what Quaid wants. Quaid wants to go to Mars.
Yep.
But she kind of shoots it down. She's kind of a downer, man. She's like, "You're done." So, to make the long story short, he goes to the key element, which is recall. Recall is it's a company that basically gives you memories. So instead of going somewhere, you get memories implanted into your brain, right?
Yep.
Into your memory. Now, of course, these are all kind of crazy ideas. Can you add memories? Can you not add memories? And as we all know who've seen the movie, everything goes wrong, right?
Yes.
And it turns out that Quaid has been to Mars, and it turns out that he might be a double agent, and it turns out that he might have been put on Earth as a spy or some sort of secret agent, and he needs to go back to Mars to finish his mission. Or is he? Or maybe he's just having a embolism, and he's going into schizoid embolism, and he's going insane because these recall places fucked up his brain. I don't know. But anyways, this movie is based off of a story by Philip K. Dick.
Yep.
And out of every science fiction author, I feel like Philip K. Dick based movies have been the biggest bangers. I mean, Blade Runner is a Philip K. Dick novel, Minority Report, and Total Recall. But the story is called We'll Remember It for You Wholesale or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Never read it. Have you read it before?
A long time ago. I do know that. Okay, so I pretend that the fucking remake does not exist. Okay, I
Yeah,
pretend that
no,
it
no, no,
doesn't.
that one, the one with Colin Farrell.
Yeah, no, I've
No,
never seen it.
never
Blah blah
seen
blah
it.
blah blah. Apparently, though, it is sort of closer to the story, whereas this version, the actual real version of Total Recall, that's actually good, um, is not super similar, but I mean, Blade Runner wasn't super similar
Right.
to Do Androids Dream either, right?
But I think
So
that
what
all the
if
movies
Philip K.
based
Dick
off
is,
of,
yeah,
he's a great idea guy, but I
yes,
think
he's a
all
very
the
good
movies
idea
are
guy.
better than his
Yeah,
stories.
yeah,
All the movies are better than his
yeah.
stories, in my opinion.
But they all have this like unreality thing. Like
Right.
a big thing with Philip K. Dick is like, is it real? Is it false? Can we trust our memories? Can we trust who we are? Da 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 da. The Matrix bit a lot from Total Recall, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know if it's true,
Including the red pill. Including
including
the
the
red
red
pill.
pill. Yeah. Um, yeah. So if you're familiar with Philip K. Dick's writing, then you can kind of get the gist of, is he actually or is he not actually? And the really, I don't know if you want to get into it yet, but one of my favorite things about this movie and why, like, it's not just my favorite sci-fi movie, it is my favorite movie, period.
Right.
And it's because of that question, right? I don't like I was saying, I don't want to get into the ending just yet, but yeah, that whole question. Is he actually the double agent going back to Mars and doing his thing? Or is he sitting in a chair drooling, schizoid embolism, right?
Right.
That's just so cool. And there's like Verhoeven purposefully never has really answered that question, which I think is really, really cool. I appreciate that a lot. I love the ambiguity of it.
Right. It's completely open ended from the very
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
You're like, so for you guys that are into writing or the idea of writing, whether you're writing a script or you're writing a novel or a story, I think this movie is a fantastic one thing you'll note. Okay, it's a fantastic watch for that, to like kind of pay attention to the writing element. So if you read the history of the movie, this movie was initially, the script for this movie was initially written in the late 70s. It was actually written, or actually even earlier, maybe mid 70s. It was the script was initially written by the same guys that wrote Alien. And once they wrote the script, they're like, "Well, we cannot do this because the sci-fi the special effects capabilities are beyond the capability of today, basically." So they kind of put it aside. It got sold. It got moved around. It went from producer to producer. Finally, Arnold, at the height of early Arnold fame, like in 1985, like right after, I believe after Predator, decides to, or Commando decides to like kind of like strong arm the studios into buying the script, rewriting it, and finalizing it, and it had to change around a lot. I think Dennis Quaid was supposed to be, or what's the guy that played Willy Wonka?
Willy Wonka, which Willy Wonka?
And the good Willy Wonka.
The OG.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what is his name?
I'll tell you right
Gene
now.
Wilder.
Gene Wilder, right?
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to be. Let me see. No, I'm sorry. Richard Dreyfuss was supposed to play the.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't remember.
Right,
I don't remember anything about Gene Wilder.
And then for a while, like Christopher Reeve, Jeff Bridges, Harrison Ford were considered. I think Harrison Ford would have been a horrible casting because he already did Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So you're kind of stuck with that. Like you start. They're very similar movies about the questioning of what's real. Am I real? Who am I? And then finally we get, Arnold cast in it, and he's a very different actor than a lot of these other guys, because he's Arnold. He looks like Arnold, right? And so he's coming in here and he's really not himself. He's in this movie. Most Arnold movies at this time, he was either Conan, the Terminator, he was the whatever nameless character in Predator, and he was a dude that was just murderizing people, And in this movie, he's kind of he's kind of a dork. He comes off as a dork. He's like this construction worker that just
Yeah.
wants to go to Mars, and his hot wife is like, stop being a dumb,
Yeah.
basically. And he's kind of, in a way, not goofy. He starts off as like lost in the sauce at first, and he's
Mhm.
slowly learning. And it's such a genius thing because he has no memory of what's going on. He has no idea. Like, is this real? Am I like, what's going on?
Mhm.
Why is everybody trying to kill me all of a sudden?
Mhm.
Spoiler, he goes to recall. Something goes wrong. They dump him in a cab. They like erase him being
You're in
there.
a Johnny cab.
Yeah, you're in a Johnny cab, right? Which looks like a busted ass Tesla. And it actually looks like a Prius. The Prius is kind of like a Johnny
You know
cab
what
to
the
me.
cars in the do you remember the freaking Chevy Lumina van?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we used to drive one. I do not miss that van at all. It was horrible. It sucked. And it was hideous. But the cars in that movie have always reminded me of this fucking
Like
Chevy Lumina that we used to drive. Yeah.
well, if you look at the other cars that were kind of in the background, they all look like contemporary like Priuses,
Yeah.
or like kind of like those like Nissan Leafs and stuff. So
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like, oh,
it was filmed in Mexico, and
right.
one of the cost saving things that they did was like the scene where he is in the Johnny cab and they're driving through like all the billboards, the underground subway system and the streets and whatever. That was just like filmed in Mexico. They didn't change anything about it. So like I remember there was this big one of the billboards had a brand on it that didn't actually um pay to have their brand in the movie or whatever, and so there was this big thing. And yeah, it's all just
Just
Mexico.
random stuff in Mexico.
Yeah.
And as a side note, it turns out that the entire crew got sick from eating Mexican food in Mexico from food poisoning. This is back in the late 80s. So
Yeah.
uh, probably not as much tourist in like the outskirts of Mexico City. But
Hmm.
there's some really cool brutalist sets. I mean, there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
subway scene and the whole like recall mall area. It's
I
just
think
this insane brutalist kind of
I
scene.
I think going back to the whole idea of it being the end of the 80s sci-fi and start of 90s is that's also it's obviously a dystopian future that we're seeing in Total Recall,
Right.
whereas a lot of sci-fi before that was far more optimistic. And now we're seeing like, oh, what if the future actually really sucks? What if
Right.
everything's gray in the future
What
and
if a
brutalist?
corporation turns off
Yeah,
your air because you're a mutant? You know?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it turns out that old Douglas Quaid is not Douglas
Mhm.
Quaid. He's some sort of he doesn't know. He doesn't know why he's on Earth. And he goes home and he's like his friend from work tries to kill him in the subway, and
Which
he
is an
just
excellent scene.
excellency, and he
Yeah,
myrtleizes everybody. So
yeah, yeah.
somehow this construction worker, he knows how to just kick ass. He just myrtleizes everybody. He goes home, he's covered in blood, and he tells Lori, he's like, oh, I killed him. He's got like blood all over his hands and shit. And
This looked like a delusion. Yeah.
like a little mini bike gang just drove down the street, a bunch of teenagers.
Hoodlums.
Yeah, little young kids do little mini bikes. But so Lori, she's like, she's not worried about him. She just tries to kill him also. So, oh no, his wife is trying to kill him, and she's like, I'm not your wife, and she starts fucking stabbing him and stuff.
And
And
she is so perfectly cast
yeah,
because she's like
she can
Sharon
flip.
Stone. Yeah, Sharon Stone has those crazy eyes. You ever get into an argument with someone who's mentally fucking ill, like borderline or
Yeah,
something,
like a BPD
BPD?
person.
Oh yeah, Sharon Stone's got those eyes down pat,
Perfect.
man. She's perfect.
Yeah. She's the kind of person that if like I ever talked to her in a bar, I would be like, I don't know
Yeah.
about this one. Like, but
Some
she's
guys are really into that.
yeah, like I'm like, no, crazy eyes, like, but yeah, she does it beautifully. She like switches on like, turns on a dime, goes to
Yeah.
kill him. He beats the crap out of her, tosses around a bit. Her real
He gets punched in
boyfriend
the dick.
supposedly, yeah, he gets punched in the dick multiple times.
Yeah.
Her real boyfriend shows up, Richter,
Who is
and
also in Scanners. He's the same
who's
guy
also
that's
in
in
Scan.
Scanners.
Yeah,
And was he in RoboCop?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No,
No, he was in Starship Troopers.
he was in Starship Troopers,
He was in
right?
yeah, he played the teacher with one arm.
Right. and he played Fisto's favorite character, the teacher from
Yeah.
Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
and so it goes nuts. Everybody's trying to kill him. He finds, there's a mysterious man that tells him find this suitcase underneath the blah blah blah, and this really disgusting scene, this amazing scene of like practical special effects where he pulls out this tracker from his nose, which traumatized me as a little 7-year-old when I
Oh,
first watched it.
that scene really does mark end of 80s sci-fi, start of 90s sci-fi. So
Right.
if you look at the history of Arnold rubberheads, okay, so think of how his rubber head looked in Terminator 1
Hmm.
versus how his rubber head looks in Total Recall. That's why they couldn't do the film when they originally wanted to do it. That is that scene right there. I have in my lap right here. I don't know if you're familiar with Fangoria
Yeah,
magazine,
it's a horror
horror
slash
special
like special effects
effects,
magazine. Yeah, I saw
and
your
there's a
post.
yeah, it's a really cool. It's got a big long interview with the guy who did the special effects of Total Recall. So I don't know if you want me to read
Yeah,
any
go
part
ahead.
of that.
Talk
Um,
about it.
well, there's this one part here where he talks about that whole idea. He first started Total Recall several years ago, and this is like an original August 1990 magazine. Okay. Um, Back when I was a whiz kid, now I'm just a whiz, if even that, I used to hear about this Total Recall thing, Botine recalls. It was intriguing to me because of how strange it was touted to be. That attracts me just because I like weird things. I've tried to gravitate towards doing the incredibly strange, but originally I passed on it, and luckily I did because if I hadn't done the thing, which was offered to me at about the same time, I probably wouldn't have gotten asked to do RoboCop or Total Recall, etc., etc. So yeah, so if anybody's seen the thing, you know that the thing has like superb practical effects. But that was a few years before Total Recall. And so even the step up from the thing to what they do in Total Recall is
Right.
pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, you know what's interesting now that I think about it, and
Mm-hmm.
the transition from practical special effects to kind of a more digital special effects can actually be
Mm-hmm.
seen here in this movie, where
Yep.
the big special effects set piece is him removing the tracker from his skull by
Yep.
sticking that thing in his nose and pulling it up, and it's
Yep.
done with like a rubber masks type
Yeah,
practical effects.
it's practical effects, yeah.
But the next big sci-fi like scene piece is actually when he arrives on Mars and he's
Yeah.
wearing that like old lady
Old
outfit,
lady suit, yeah.
right? And then the old lady suit
Talks
like
about that in this too.
opens up in a very like kind of like segmented way, and I'm pretty sure that's like very early computer digital special effects, at least parts of it.
Actually, let me
Or
find
is
it.
that still practical effects?
I believe it is practical effects. Hold on, there's a bit on that. Uh take some molds of Arnold. The film was already in progress at this
Oh, it's
time.
a
There's all
70
these
pound practical effect.
there were all these extras on the set, just tons of them in the spaceport. Paul stops everything to and he says to Paul, as in Verhoeven, the scene had better be good because you talked me into all this, Botine exclaims, waving his arms. Then he just turned around and went back to his work. So much emphasis was being put on this scene, but then I put emphasis on everything I do, so I knew that I could deliver. But I knew it was going to be very difficult for everyone involved at my studio. In the original script, Botine goes on, Arnold had boarded the spaceship and put this case over his head. He pushed a button, steam shoots out, he pulls it off, and he's another person. This threw me a little bit. Since my forte is coming up with these crazy things, obviously I'm looking to deliver as many possibilities to the audience as I can. I'm not picking on the writing. I don't want to make it sound like I didn't think it was wonderful from point one, but I was looking for a way to make it more visually striking. And I examined the thought that Arnold could put this thing on his head and then pull it off looking like another person. That's great, but it's too much like a dream. I can pretty much guarantee that there will never be 1 second plastic surgery. So it didn't match the level of technology in the rest of the film. And also, if he can do this, why doesn't he do it throughout the film? Why doesn't he pull out his bag of tricks the moment the bad guys come by and disguise himself again? Paul looks at me for a long time and says in a slow, wondering tone, "You're right. So what do you think we should do?" I said, "I have no idea." That's a tough nut to crack conceptually. Anyway, and then it goes on and on and on about that. But yeah, that one's practical effects. I think
Yeah.
one of the most impressive parts of the special effects in the movie are the scenes like he first lands on Mars and you're seeing like the matte paintings and all the miniatures and stuff like that. And then it like zooms into the train, like the window where he's sitting in the train and back out again. Yeah, that sort of stuff's really cool. Actually, what part is digital? Obviously the tracker device thingy itself with like little bleep, bleep, bleep.
Yeah, which is very alien kind of thing, you know? Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That I actually thought that there was some digital in that scene, but now that I think about it, you're right, and it is. You know, it's such a good like special effect that it looks digital almost. If that makes sense, that's the craziest thing. Because I like I said, I just watched it on Saturday, and I was like, whoa, like,
yep, it holds up. I mean, like you can tell that it's 2 weeks. You can tell that it's a rubberhead, like you know, but but practical effects will always. I'm a practical effects fan, so maybe I'm biased, but it's just it looks like, even though you can tell that it's a rubber mask, the lighting is more natural to the rest of the scene. The actors are actually interacting with the things that are in camera. You know, it's just a totally different experience for everybody, the actors, the crew, the audience, when it's practical effects, rather than like movies now. You watch a freaking Marvel movie and it's just actors dancing around a green screen. Like, the hell is that, you know?
Right. Which, you know, actually there was something I was talking to my wife about, right, while we were watching this. And this movie, like the scene where he pulls out the thing from his nose and you can hear the crunch, and he's like, and he's pulling that glowing ball,
gross.
You know, it's so gross, right? And just blood. Or the scene, you know, with Quato coming out, and just there's a lot of really disgusting special effects in this movie.
Yeah, the Benny's mutant arm, where he reveals that thing. Yeah,
that stuff sticks in your mind. Yeah, right? Like it's gross. You know, you're like,
3-titted prostitutes.
And I can't think of any like more modern contemporary things that are like CGI that gross me out. Like, even if the CGI is like more gross than this stuff, for some reason it doesn't stick with you. I feel like
it doesn't.
I can't think of anything, and like nothing in the CGI world sticks with me. It's like your brain doesn't like, even if it's there's something wrong with it.
The lighting is off, or there's just something about it that's just, you subconsciously maybe, but you know that it's not real. Whereas when you're watching practical effects, like, you know it's fake, but you also, it does look real because it all is in camera, right? So it's, I don't know how else to describe it. It's fake but real, whereas digital is fake but fake. Does that make sense?
Right,
it's like, it's like double fake.
Right, because I cannot think of any scenes. I don't know if anybody in that's listening live, or you know, in the future, can like comment on the post. Think of any scenes that kind of like gross you out or stick out from the digital era, like the contemporary digital era. I really can't think of any. Nothing that kind of like grosses me out in the same way that like Reagan's vomit from The Exorcist, for example. You know, like or like, you know, just the Exorcist scenes, or like that gross pile of just random crap in dog heads and stuff from The Thing, or like The Fly from, you know, The Fly.
Well, the freaking this is one of John Carpenter's more underrated ones. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, but not a lot of people rank it as a favorite or anything. Prince of Darkness. There's this one scene in Prince of Darkness where oh my gosh, actually a lot of the effects in Prince of Darkness is really good. But there's like the hello, where he's like a beetle. He's made out of a bunch of beetles. Ugh! When I was a kid, that made me feel so gross. Or like the woman who's like, her face is like melting off almost, like, ugh, gross.
Right.
I like Prince of Darkness though.
Well, it's even like the non like scary movies, like we all remember the face melting from, you know, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And that sticks with you. I can't think of anything contemporary. Now, it might be because I'm a elder millennial or whatever, and maybe younger people might say like they might have a movie that or something gross like that that sticks with them, I can't think of anything, you know. I can't think of any CGI heavy stuff. Like, is there
Yeah.
any scenes in all the Marvel slop that stick out as like, you know, I don't know. I don't, you know, I
I don't
mean,
know, man, because like even in the early days of CG, like one of the first movies that I had been to the movie theater before this, but this is the one that I actually like really remember going to, was Jurassic Park, right? And that was like really early CGI. Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park were both like really early CGI.
right.
And yet, uh okay, now we can see where all the quote unquote, like, you know, digital mistakes they weren't mistakes at the time, but like they haven't aged very well in Jurassic Park or whatever. But that
Right.
shit blew my mind when I was a
It
kid.
did. It did.
And yeah, I've had conversations with younger people, and they like, my kids have even asked me, what was it like to see Jurassic Park in theater? Like as if it's like a 9/11, like, you know, historical event or something, because like they don't have that sort of
Right. There
thing
isn't a,
anymore.
you know, I saw it in theaters when it came out. I remember I was a little
Yeah.
kid and I saw it in theaters.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think we were talking offline sometime earlier this week, and we were
Hmm.
talking about like what are some of the more CGI parts that we remember.
Hmm.
And Terminator 2,
Terminator
I
2.
really
Yeah.
like the whole, you know, like you said, he's blending into the floor, into the
Yeah.
checkered board thing.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. The
The hand spike through the milk.
Right,
That
the
when I was
hand
a
spike
kid,
to the
that
milk is my favorite
stood out
scene
to
in the
me.
whole movie,
Yeah.
which is the how's Wolfie?
Yeah.
And oh, Wolfie's all right, and then your parents are dead. That's the best part
Yeah.
of the fucking movie. The rest of the movie sucks. I'm sorry, guys. The movie, it's not that good. Really, the only peak thing in that
We'll
movie
have
is
to we'll have to agree to disagree. But
I know. Sarah Connor's great in that movie, but
yeah.
like the whole daddy thing with the, I can't stand it. I can't even
Is
watch it.
Terminator 1 better in many
Yes,
ways?
100%,
Yes.
a hundred
But
percent.
is Terminator 2 a very influential early
Yeah, you're
90s
right. I'm not
treat?
gonna. It's one
Yes.
of those things where like I loved it as a kid, and I loved it
Yeah.
as like when it first came out. I think I saw it a bunch of times in theaters when it first came out, and I watched it nonstop, and I had all the action figures and blah blah blah. And for
Yeah.
some reason now I did not like it when I watched it with my daughter. I was like, ugh. But I liked Sarah Connor in it, and I liked. I mean, it is a really good movie, but I liked Sarah Connor, and I liked the T-1000. I liked the whole, you know, liquid metal
The
thing.
liquid metal thing,
When he
yeah. It was just
explodes,
so fucking cool.
that
Where he
was like,
goes through the gate and then
yeah.
the gun gets caught. Yeah.
Yeah, and he like
Yeah.
his hand gets caught. It's really
Yeah.
cool. That was such a cool way to like bring. I mean, this James Cameron movie, and you know, later on he does, you
Mhm.
know, Titanic, which is like peak CGI kind of special
Mhm.
effects of the '90s. I think Titanic, Terminator 2, and Jurassic Park are like the three peak
Yeah.
CGI sci-fi movies that like kind of, or
Excluding things like Toy Story, Pixar
right,
stuff.
right, right,
Excluding that stuff. Yeah.
right. But let's go back to Total
Total
Recall,
Recall.
right?
That's right.
So where we left off. So Quaid gets to Mars, and he gets a message to go to Mars from himself,
Yeah.
right? Um, Alien is from 1983. That's from the year I was born, so it's
Hmm.
early 80s,
Hmm.
right? Uh, Alien is like 100% no CGI. It is almost
It's all
completely
practical
all
effects. Yeah.
practical special effects. Yeah. Um, which is probably the sci-fi masterpiece of the 80s. And I don't know if anybody wants to debate that one,
Hmm.
but I think Alien is a sci-fi masterpiece
Well,
of the 80s.
some people might prefer Alien 2, I guess, as being better, but it's kind of the same thing. Okay, so we got Alien and Aliens. One's horror, one's action. And then we have the same thing
Yeah,
with Terminator, where the first Terminator is horror and the second one's action. So, like, I guess it depends on what like genre thing. I much
right.
prefer Alien to Aliens, me
Me too.
personally.
I like Aliens
Uh,
also, but
yeah,
I prefer the horror of Alien, the
yeah,
isolation, the small
yeah.
ship. You know, it's basically you know, kind of
The
like a
robot milk.
robot milk, yeah, you know,
Yeah,
which like we talked about this before, but like my daughter was shocked by that. She
yeah,
knew the chest bursting already because, you know, she played Fortnite and she's seen all like the jokes and stuff,
yeah.
but she was not spoiled on the, you know, was it Bishop or whatever being the robot, or him getting all milk everywhere and stuff, and
My
that I thought that was pretty cool.
My kids first saw the chest burst thing from Spaceballs.
Yeah,
Canada's Spaceballs. Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was expecting it and she thought it was cute. She's like, "Oh, look, it's cute." Came out and ran away. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's disgusting. But
Mhm.
like people had heart attacks in a movie theater. How could you think it's just cute? But
Yeah.
it's TikTok freaking Fortnite generation over here is all about the
Yeah.
chest burst.
Yeah.
But back to Total Recall, old Quaid gets a message from himself. Oh my God,
Yeah.
himself. So what's going on is somebody erased his memory and dropped him on Earth, but he's actually this really cool guy, and he needs to go find the resistance. So he needs to go. Himself tells him, "Get
He
your
needs
ass
to
to Mars. Get
get
your
your
ass
ass
to
to Mars.
Mars. Get your ass to Mars." And he needs to go to the Hilton on Mars, right? The most expensive hotel. So he gets his ass to Mars. There's a cool CGI, like not CGI, but there's a cool scene we were just talking about where he's an old lady and then the mask comes off. And a bunch of violence happens. And he goes to the Hilton, and in Hilton, he gets a strong box, like a lock box or whatever. And there's basically a flyer for what looks like a strip club, right? Some kind of a
Yeah.
brothel, like a
Mhm.
Martian brothel. And he does this really cool, smart thing where he on the flyer for the brothel, there's a note, handwritten note that says "Ask for Melina," and he takes a pen and he writes Melina, and he goes, "Oh, it's my handwriting,"
Yep.
right?
Which is really subtle. I remember one of the first times I watched the movie, I didn't really catch that, but I was also a kid, so
Right. You're
But
like,
yeah.
oh. So basically, the implication is that he left a note for himself, and that's where that now he walks out and boom, there's a terrorist explosion. Right as soon as he walks out of the hotel, and a bunch of fighting starts breaking out because there's terrorists, and the security guards are fighting the terrorists, which is a scene that I believe was very well echoed in one of my other favorite sci-fi movies from 20 years later, Children of Men, which opens
Mhm.
with a scene very similar to this scene where the main character in Children of Men walks out of like a cafe or something like that. An explosion happens and a terrorist
Mhm.
battle starts. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with that movie,
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed that movie also. And that's
Mhm.
where we meet Benny, all right?
Mhm.
And Benny is your 1980s, jiving black man cab driver.
He's got
And
5 kids to feed.
he's got 5 kids to feed.
Yep.
And what's
Take
interesting
him
in
to the
this one,
dentist.
on Mars, there's no robot cabs like on Earth, right? Mars has actual human cab drivers, right?
Yep.
And human cab driver takes him to basically like the red light district of Mars,
Yep.
and they find the I forgot the name of the bar.
Venus. Shoot, I've seen this movie a million times. What the hell is the name of the bar? It's in Venusville. Is
Yeah,
the name of the red
Venusville is
light?
like the ghetto
Yeah.
of Mars, right? Um,
Last
it's called
resort.
the Last Resort, right? So he takes him to the Last Resort, which is kind of cool. And he goes, and Venusville of Mars, it's the crappy dome, right? It's the dome
Yeah.
that doesn't have good air, or it doesn't block the gamma rays from the sun, and because it's cheap, and the poor people live in Venusville, and they're all fucking mutants, right? Because it
Yeah.
turns out that the early colonists had cheap domes because the corporations running Mars were cheap and didn't give them enough air, and the air was dirty, and the radiation, polluted them, and they're mutants. So a lot of the people in Venusville are mutants. There's a
And all the
very
mutants, for some reason, are also psychic.
and they're also psychic, right?
Yeah.
And that's a key plot element, right? The mutants are psychic. They can read minds, right? They can, a lot of them can. And that's very, very much like given very like when he gets out of the cab, because every single mutant is like offering to read his fortune. And
Mhm.
the little girl mutant who has like a face vagina, whose dad also has a face vagina, whose mom has a face vagina too. She tells him, "Let me guess your birthday." And she's like, "You're a Taurus." And I'm like, "Yes, because I am a Taurus myself."
Mhm.
Note to fans of the Black Ibis Social Club, I'm a Taurus.
Mhm.
And me and Douglas Quaid are both Tauruses, which is really interesting. Is that Douglas Quaid's birthday, or is it Hauser's birthday? Or
Mhm.
does Douglas Quaid have a birthday? Anyways, so he goes to the Last Resort. He asks for Melina. Last Resort's like this kind of creepy, like, I don't know, like mutant brothel of some sort. It looks
Yeah.
fun. And you know what the funny part is? My wife pointed out when we were watching it.
But
She's like, "Man," she goes, "I've been to way dingier places than that."
yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, now that I think about it, I drank in much scummier places than the Last Resort, and it's supposed to be like the pit of Mars, you know.
Yeah.
And there's the best bit of special effects here, which is the three-tittied hooker.
Yep.
There's a midget, and I believe the midget is played by Bridget the midget, right? I don't know if that's her. Let me see. There's a midget mutant, basically.
Yeah.
It was played by the late actress and stuntwoman Debbie Lee Carrington, right? And in the movie, her name is Thumbelina, which is
That's right. Yeah.
on the nose, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, she's like a famous I don't know, little people actor, right?
Midget.
I don't know what
Yeah.
do we, you
Little people, whatever.
she passed away in March 23rd, 2018 at age 58. Okay, so she's at 58 years old. But yeah, you've probably seen her in a lot of movies because she's kind of a famous little person actress. Oh, she was
Yeah.
the Emperor Penguin in Batman Returns. Another one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
That's pretty cool, right? And sorry, and right, so stupid.
You know what's really funny about this movie is that there's so many like you're talking about like these characters in this bar, and like some of them are only there for like a split second, but the ridiculous amount of violence committed either by them or to them is so memorable. And it's like for example, the amount of exploding tits in this movie, just like, you know, so many giblets fly out from chests. But then the midget, she stabs, well, she doesn't stab him in the dick. It's pretty close though. She freaking stabs the guy. She gets the machine gun. She's shooting up the guys trying to like infiltrate.
Yeah, she kills the nerdy guy.
She was badass. Yeah, the nerdy guy.
Yeah, she kills Richter's boyfriend, you know?
Yeah,
the glasses, right?
Lackey. Yeah,
his main lackey, right?
Yeah.
So violence happens.
Yeah.
Quaid goes
not
back.
Quite yet. The violence hasn't happened yet, but like, yeah.
Stuff happens. He goes back. He gets taken back. You know, he meets Melina, and Melina's like,
she doesn't believe him at first.
She's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "You told me you loved me." And he's like, "I have no idea who the fuck you are because my memory's been erased." And you're like, "What?" So, plot twist: he has no idea who he is. He's not Douglas Quaid. He's supposedly in love with this Melina chick who hangs out at this mutant bar. She's not a mutant, but they're all mutants. But she might be a mutant. You never know. She might. She's
like a call girl kind of.
Right.
Yeah. Escort.
But I don't know why she's hanging out with all these mutants. You know, some kind of a thing. But he's like, fine, whatever. And then she's mad at him because he abandoned her. And he's like, I didn't abandon you. I woke up on Earth and I was married. And she's like, you're married. You know, it was like stupid.
Yeah.
So he goes back to the Hilton. And now we have the famous scene, right? The big important scene. Right? And this is the scene that Verhoeven says convinced him to actually make the movie when he read the script. Yeah. So during the scene, he's back at a hotel and he hears a knock on the door. And this old kind of like doctored guy comes in.
Yep.
And he's like, Mr. Quaid, I am not really here. I am from Recall. I'm actually Dr. So-and-so. I'm sitting next to you. You're having a schizoid embolism. You're sitting on Earth right now in a chair in a hospital. I'm here. I'm basically like the safety protocol. I'm here to give you a pill to bring you out of this schizoid kind of insanity. You're experiencing like this rare disorder. If you don't take this pill, you're going to basically
be stuck here forever.
Be stuck here and schizoid thing. And then Lori, his wife, comes in. You know, that's the one that tried to kill him back on Earth. And she's like, Quaid, Douglas, honey, please take the pill. Yeah. Please take the pill. And now the idea that to this point in the movie, you assume the twist, right? The twist was the idea was that his memory was erased and his whole life of being a construction worker married to Lori on Earth was false. And this kind of concept, this urge to go to Mars was coming out because that was really the truth. He needed to get back to Mars because that was his true id, like his true deep sub personality. But now you get the second idea put in, which is no, this is all fake. This is you're insane. This is
Yep.
what you wanted when you went to recall. This is like the adventure that they implanted in your mind, but it went wrong. Take this pill, wake up. And yeah, and these two ideas follow you in the whole movie from this point on, right?
So yeah, so we're about, are we quite halfway through the movie yet?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
like
this is the halfway point. So the this scene here and the scene at when he's at recall before he goes to Mars, there are many clues and a few in between as well that could be clues to either it's real or it's all in his head. So in this scene, my favorite part of this scene is where he sees the sweat drip down the doctor's face. So why would this guy, who's apparently part of a figment of his imagination, why would he have that drip of sweat down the side of his head?
Yeah.
So then you might see that and think that, oh, well, he's clearly trying to trick Quaid, right? Or there's the other clues, whereas like way back at recall, the vacation salesman kind of guy essentially spells out everything that's going to happen to him on Mars. Like everything that happens to him.
He's like, blue skies on Mars. Oh, that's new.
Yeah. So there's many clues for either conclusion. And that this is the scene where if you're watching it for like the first time, where you go, huh, I see. And then you watch it again and you start catching all the clues.
Start seeing everything.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, but if this was implanted in recall, why did he have a dream about Melina before recall?
That's right.
Right. And then then the program that gets inputted in recall is Melina, which makes no sense, right? But then so there's so many like if this, if that, if this, if that, and they're all logically consistent in universe. It's none of it like goes nowhere, but it's so ambiguous that you will never actually know.
Yep.
So at this point, he decides to shoot the guy in the head because, well, he sweated, right? So in his logic, the guy's sweating, so he must be real. Shoots him in the head, he dies. And the guy, so this is a key thing that's very interesting here, right? The doctor tells him, if you kill me and don't take this pill, the walls will come crashing down. As that's in like the reality is going to come crashing down, right? Well, as soon as he shoots him, well, guess what? Through the walls come crashing down, right?
Yeah, the guys
right through the window. Wall, right? The walls come. The bad guys are like next door, and violence happens.
Now you've done it, Sharon Stone.
Now you've done it, Sharon. Yeah, she's in full blown crazy psycho mode. But then Melina comes and freaking machine guns the crap out of everybody and kills Sharon Stone. Well, kills Laurie.
That actually, if I recall, the fight scene between Melina and Laurie was the first woman on woman fight scene in a movie like that, if I recall. I might be wrong,
it was very David Lynch. It was very David Lynch, basically. Arnold had to pick between a blonde or a brunette. Like, what if I had a blonde, or what if I had a brunette, and what if they fought it out to the death? And it was pretty cool. I thought that
divorce.
That was a great scene. And then Arnold does divorce her by shooting her in the head. There's a lot of headshots in this movie, and when I watched it on Saturday, I made a note where there's a lot of frontal lobe shots, right? Like straight to the dome, straight down the forehead, and I go, that has to be some kind of a and we're messing with minds here. We're basically erasing personalities, and the personalities in the frontal lobe, right?
Or Verhoeven just really likes headshots.
Yeah. But I'm trying to add an extra level of intellectualism here, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course the brunette has the sleazy your husband in the chat, of course, has the sleazy crispy 80s hair, right?
Yep.
And then Sharon Stone, right? And she goes on to make another Verhoeven movie, I think, afterwards, which was Basic Instinct, I believe, where she's a crazy psycho in that one.
Yep. Yeah, she's really good at that.
Right. But yeah, so now, like, after this scene, this is like kind of like the beginning of the third act. The third act is like right here. So now he has a girl. She realized that he's telling the truth. they go back to they go back to the last resort, and now they go into like the secret tunnels, and they take Benny with them because all this violence breaks out. And Benny's, remember, he's a cab driver, and he's got 5 kids to feed. Well, the rebels, obviously Melina's working with the rebels. They take him to the rebel leader, and the rebel leader is some kind of Siamese twin mutant baby attached to another.
Oh, it's so good. It's so freaking
absolutely
it's
disgusting.
Gross. Like you can see like the mucus from
he comes out.
I have that on a shirt that
we used to call people Quattro. We're like, oh, this guy's Quattro over here coming out. It's really one of the greatest characters ever. Like, hands down, it is like a peak character, peak sci-fi character. Yeah, he's like a super psychic. And then the big reveal happens, right? The big reveal, well, the first of the big 2 reveals, right? So super spoiler now. The first reveal is that Quaid, locked in his mind, is the secret of why the evil corporation, Cohagen, and everybody is locking down the mines and not giving these people air, right? And that is because deep down in the mind, they found some alien artifacts, which are hinted at the beginning of the movie, like in the news report, right? There's alien artifacts or some shit like that, right? Yeah. And Quaid knows in his mind, whoever Quaid was before, he became Quaid on Earth, knows that the alien artifacts will make air, right? But there's a catch. In order for them to melt the ice caps on Mars, they have to basically burn all the tribinium. The tribinium is why the corporation, like the Mars Corporation run by Cohagen, has all the money and the power, because that tribinium is used for some kind of war effort that's undisclosed somewhere, probably in the solar system. So, right. So basically, the corporation Cohagen can make air, basically can terraform Mars using some ancient alien technology that's in the mines, but he won't do it because that would mean he would basically lose the tribinium. Yeah. So it's kind of a very like 1980s oil kind of dilemma, right? Yeah. We know oil is bad for the environment and drilling it and blah blah blah, and peak oil and all the global warming stuff of the late 80s 90s. Well, I guess global icing or whichever, but also we needed to do stuff. So it's like a very interesting thing, right? And so then, bam, there's betrayal. The bad guys come, kill everybody, kill Quattro, and because Benny betrayed. And this is really cool. You know what is really cool? Because the black guy betrayed him, right? And there's actually a very important note in the script. If you like I think Verhoeven said this, right? And the script writer said that he specifically was irritated by every black character in a movie is like the good guy. Like you've heard like that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like they never made the black guy. They always made like the black guy the sidekick or like the good guy that could be counted on. Like for example, a movie from the same era, Die Hard, right? Yeah. You've got like the young kid, black kid, the limo driver. Yep. Right. He's like, completely the good guy, right? So he wanted the black guy to like betray, because nobody expected the black guy to be the bad guy, because you don't write black guys as bad guys in movies with a white main character, right? So they made Benny a complete sinister freak, and not only is he's a double betrayer, right? Yeah, he's a double betrayer because first he betrays them, but then he's a mutant and he betrays his own people, the other mutants, right? For money. And he doesn't even have 5 kids to feed. He lied about that. Right. And his death is one of my favorite deaths, by the way.
What's really cool about his death is that the scene was originally supposed to be way more gory, but in order for it to not get an X rating, they wanted R, so they had to change the manner, or at least the explicit nature of his demise. but it is so good. Oh,
It is
it's
so
so
good.
good. It's
It's
such a
one.
good
It's one
villain
that I
death.
felt when I was a little
Yeah.
7-year-old. I love that. My brother and I used to like a
Screw
like role
you.
play,
Yeah.
screw you, and he gets drilled with that crazy drill, and anyways, blah 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 happens. Shit happens. There's this really gruesome scene on the elevator where Richter gets his arms chopped
Oh,
off and he
that's
falls.
another excellent villain death
Excellent
right there.
death,
Yeah.
right? And then finally they get to the top of the crazy machine, and it's got this fucking like alien finger thing that he has to push and start the
Yeah.
reactor because he's got the
But
quattro.
they're all he also has to like hold on to a rope because they're all getting sucked out onto the airless Mars surface. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and
There's
the tribinium melts down. It's like
yeah.
like nuclear rods is what it looks like. Like
Yeah.
nuclear rods,
Yeah.
like green, kind of like jade, indium melting the ice caps and fucking. I mean, it's and meanwhile, Cohagen, he cuts off all the air supply to the dome, like to what is it, Venusville, right?
Yeah.
So all our mutant strippers are just dying. They're dying. They have no air. They're on a time limit. They're like passed out, choking, like strewn about, slowly suffocating because Cohagen, the corporation, is just not giving him air. So he's in. Quaid's in a race for time. But there was another big reveal that I forgot to mention, was that this whole fucking thing was a double cross, right?
Yeah.
The whole point was Quaid is not Quaid, he's Hauser, right? And he's Cohagen's best friend, Hauser, and he tried to get close to the rebels to find Quattro, to find their secret, right? But he couldn't because all of them were psychics, right? They could always catch everybody.
So he had to wipe his mind so that the psychics couldn't sniff him out or whatever he says. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole plot was he wiped his own mind, set himself on Earth, created a situation where he would end up back on Mars to fight alongside the rebels, just to eventually, he basically double crossed himself so he can not become. It's really a screwy plot. Anyways, all this happened. Cohagen gets killed. Air comes to Mars, and then we blank out. Movie over, and it's a fantastic movie, right?
It's excellent.
And
it's got it all.
It's got it all. Yeah. It's hyper violent. It's one of the most violent movies I've seen. Like, there's a few more.
Like Verhoeven purposely put a ton of violence in especially his sci-fi trilogy, because that was his way of poking fun at Hollywood violence of the 80s. Like, think of some other Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, right? But then he goes, and by making fun of it, he ends up doing it really, really well, which is the best kind of satire. It really is the best kind of satire.
So I mean, they go all out with the gun violence. There's a fantastic scene where he sticks a spike through this dude's neck at the second recall. Beautiful, like, special effect violence. But the movie's also very, very smart, right? And it asks a lot of questions, and it's a fantastic movie from a writer's perspective. And I think really the script is so tight because you watch the movie, and maybe the reason why I love it so much after 36 years of it being out, right, is that maybe it's not the deepest plot, even though it has some twists and turns. It's got like an anime kind of plot to it. But the way it's done, the way it tells a story, is something that a lot of modern movies cannot do. Contemporary movies suck at doing this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really spoon feeds you anything. There's tons of information. If you want like a piece of like great filmmaking, just watch the first like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie. And the whole plot of the movie is there in your face, right? There's so much information given to you. Like, it's in the future, right away, because he's got fancy, this is illustrated by the fancy like TVs he's got, right? There's news reports about Mars. It talks about air on Mars. It talks about rebels. It shows the bad guy instantly, introduces you to the main villain, Cohagen, in the first 30 seconds of the movie. It puts the idea that he wants to go to Mars, and there's aliens mentioned. Oh, we've discovered alien artifacts in Mars and the mine is
Yep.
shut down, blah, blah, blah. Right. Everything's there. Everything's there. Right. And then the wife pushes back on it. So you're like, okay, why is she pushing back on him wanting to go to Mars? All these ideas are dead in that first part, but everything is kind of, there's no like exposition. It's all done through like cues and like side conversations.
Well, I mean, the news and this is what I would generally call quote unquote lazy exposition, because like the opening scene is literally like the newscast explaining what's going on Mars, but it's done well. Like you can even have a trope like that and do it well, right? I think in this movie it does work because there's so much else to fret about in the movie that like, okay, explain what's going on in a news article or at the start. Just go ahead. So yeah. So that's really the only major explanatory thing, unless you count the salesman guy, kind of, sort of, but it's not really the same kind of exposition. It's exposition.
Linear. It's like parallel exposition almost.
Yeah. It's like, it's something that you catch on subsequent viewings, whereas the newscast is like for everybody watching it for the first time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's setting the scene, you know. But yeah, it's I can't think of any movies that really come close to it. It's a very dense movie.
It is, right? Yeah.
You compare it to a movie like the last two Dunes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those movies,
I haven't seen those still.
So I feel like those last two movies, they suffer from being kind of stretched out. They're not very dense. Like it feels like they're really drawn out and not a lot happens, even though obviously the source material of Dune is a much bigger novel than the short story that this is based off of. It's just so less happens in much more time than in the under 2 hours of Total Recall. Right. So some other things to kind of mention about Total Recall, it came out in 1990, right? And it shows you how the 90s were great from movies, because it was like the 7th top film in that era, right? And some of the movies that came out at the same time as Total Recall, right, were let me see, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? The first one, the good one, the only good one, right? I think 2 was pretty good too, because I go ninja go. The top movie of that year, Ghost, right?
Right, yeah.
Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
Pretty Woman, Dances with Wolves, and I think the top grossing movie of that year, not Ghost, above Ghost, was Home Alone.
That's right. Yep.
So Total Recall came out the same year as Home Alone, which is wild. I did not realize Home Alone came out in 1990. I feel like it came out later than that. It feels a lot more contemporary, but and this movie came out before Terminator 2, and it was one of the movies before Terminator 2 and before Arnold's like softening of his career, where he kind of goes into like
he starts doing like comedy films and shit.
Like a Jingle All the Way and Twins, which is a pretty good movie. I don't know if that's appropriate movie nowadays.
Apparently he did Twins. He wanted to prove that he could do something other than action movies, so he does Twins basically for free, except for, what do they call that, residuals or whatever,
right?
Anyway, he ended up making way more money with the agreement that he did than he would have just getting a paycheck for doing Twins, and he was like advised against it, and he's like, no. Yeah, I guess you don't try to tell Schwarzenegger what to do. He'll do whatever he wants.
Was overall pretty smart. He seemed to have done some great career choices. I mean, he did become the governor of my state.
Yeah.
Like that's like such a weird thing that people like that's actually a really weird thing that I don't even think about when I was watching Total Recall. Like, oh, that's the governor.
He becomes the governor of California. Yeah.
I saw the guy speak live as the governor of the state of California.
He achieved, basically, he's the kind of guy, like, if he sets his mind to doing something, he is able to achieve it somehow. Right. Like, marries a Kennedy. He comes to the United States. He becomes the best bodybuilder the world has ever seen.
Right.
He becomes a movie star
Unmatched. I don't
despite
care what
his
anybody says.
accent.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't care what anybody says. He's unmatched. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, there's guys that are like much bigger than him, but they're completely way more juiced up than him. They don't look as good as him ever. Like
That
there's something.
era of bodybuilding, they
Yeah.
still have that my if my husband is listening, he knows more about this sort of stuff than I do. But there's something about, I don't know if it was like a different type of steroid they were using in the 70s or what it was, but they didn't have that, like when you watch bodybuilding competitions now and they look so like beef jerky or
Yeah, they
something.
look sick. They're over.
Yeah.
They're over
They're
and
way
using
too
it.
like dried out and their muscles are way too veiny and like I don't like
It's a
it.
different
But
look.
the
Yeah.
bodybuild, if you go back to like the 70s era, they were on steroids then too, but they didn't look as, I think the word is cut, right?
Yeah.
They still kind of look kind of bubbly, you know? Like if you
Right.
think of like the He-Man toys and stuff like that, like rounded
Right.
edges,
He, I
you know?
mean, he was obviously, he was obviously on steroids
Oh, he
his
was definitely on
entire
steroids. Oh,
career,
for sure.
his entire life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there were maybe lower doses. I mean, steroids are illegal, so I can't talk about that kind of stuff. We can't
Yeah,
really
I
go
wouldn't know
into
anything
details.
about steroids. And
Uh, but I do have a lot of bodybuilder friends that know this stuff.
yeah,
And yeah, he was on a lot less than your contemporary. Like
yeah,
he, so the equivalent of, so I don't know if you guys know about bodybuilding. There's like natty bodybuilding, right? Which is not
yeah,
really natty at all. They actually also on steroids and TRT and stuff, right?
yeah.
And they he looks more like somebody like that. But he was a beast at that time, and all those guys are. But he's
Oh, yeah,
definitely not
yeah.
like uh the guys in today's like Mr. Olympia and stuff. They're completely
Mhm.
juiced up beyond the whole dry veins, like sub like 9 body fat with like all the like they're completely dehydrated from starving themselves and diuretics and stuff.
Mhm.
And that they did that in that era too, but it was a different look.
Yeah, they
No, see,
look totally.
my wife actually commented. She goes, "I don't find him attractive at all." Like he, I don't know. If I was, I
I
find him,
mean,
I find him attractive.
yeah,
You know,
Schwarzenegger, I mean, I wouldn't call him attractive, but because he has so much charisma, you can definitely see why he got so much pussy in the 70s. Like,
right,
no question. You can kind of understand why that happened.
right.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
I don't really find him attractive either. But he got a lot of pussy in the
but look at
70s. I don't know.
look at his jaw. It's like perfect. He's got this perfect
Actually,
jaw.
he's probably still getting lots of pussy. What are we
I
talking
feel
about?
like maybe Arnold's like maybe guys find Arnold like attractive in the same way like women find women that guys don't find attractive. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like you're like,
yeah,
oh, she's cute, and like guys are like, oh, I don't think so. Like, oh,
yeah,
not
yeah,
really.
yeah,
She's not my
yeah.
type. Maybe that's how like Arnold is to like guys.
And
Like
then there's women like Sharon Stone in 1990 Total Recall. I am a hetero female, but I know she was smoking hot. Like you can just tell, you know?
right,
Like I'm not
right,
attracted to her, but like you can tell that she's fucking
right.
smoke show. Peak Sharon Stone.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about attractiveness in
Yeah.
this movie, like Sharon Stone, like she's looked good well into her older age. Um, but the main female character, which her name is Rachel Ticotin, I think it's
Hmm.
pronounced Ticotin, um, she's an interesting choice, right? Like
Yeah.
my wife even commented, she's like, that
Yeah,
what is
she's not as conventionally attractive as Sharon Stone.
right.
Yeah.
And she's like Hispanic. She's
Hmm.
like some kind of she's I think I'm looking at her now. She's Puerto Rican mother and a Polish Jewish father. She has dark curly hair. She has
Hmm.
uh, darker skin. She
Hmm.
plays a lot of never. She was in Con Air, a few kind of, but never really like.
I think you know what's funny? Schwarzenegger had a Hispanic love interest in Running Man too, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he had
And then he ends up having
an
a,
affair with a
an affair
Hispanic.
with a Hispanic maid.
Yeah, and he has the son that actually looks like him.
Yeah, I was
And
just about to say, like the genetics pass through
Yeah,
the
the
back.
Hispanic, right? So
Yeah,
maybe Total
yeah,
Recall knew what was up, you know?
yeah,
Like after all, at the beginning when he goes to recall, he picks, he picks her. Like that's,
yeah.
she's a what does he describe her as a little bit of skeezy or something like
Uh,
that, or
Sleazy, athletic, and
sleazy.
demure.
Yeah, sleazy,
Yeah,
athletic, and demure. He just likes those sleazy, athletic, demure
yeah,
Latinas,
yeah, yeah,
and he had the Sharon Stone Kennedy at home, but he decided to go for the sleazy, demure maid,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe he
Yeah,
wrote this movie, right?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so the big question for this movie and is it real? Did
yeah.
this happen? Right?
So,
It- what do you think?
okay, if
Or
you
do
look
you
at it,
care? Or do you even care?
I see. I don't. How do I put this? It's the type of movie that you can change your mind every single time you watch it. You watch it one time and you think, "Oh no, that was definitely real," and then a couple of years later, you watch it again. Oh no, maybe it wasn't. Like you can actually flip flop back and forth. There's no wrong conclusion because Verhoeven has stated there's no wrong conclusion. So it's really fun thinking of all the clues. Like one clue that he's lobotomized in a chair is the fact that because the plot is so silly, like it was definitely written by someone who does not understand how science works, who
Right.
left in a whole bunch of plot holes, da 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 da. And but there's also lots of clues that it could be real. And so there's um I don't know. Sometimes I watch it and I feel like, you know, he has actually been tricked and he really is the, spy guy. And then sometimes you watch it and you're like, maybe not. And that's what I love about it. I love it because it's so ambiguous. So you can really take it either way. Or you don't even have to think about it at all and just watch it as like a cool action flick
Right.
with a
Exactly.
three-titted prostitute. Like that is totally okay too, because it
Yeah.
does all these things. Yeah.
I in my 20s, I used to think that no, this is obviously he's having a schizoid embolism. The
Mm-hmm.
movie, cuts to a white screen at the very end, and that's supposed to be a
Yeah.
clue. And I was very
Yeah.
much like, if this is all fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's dying in a chair and recall.
Yeah.
And he's just Quaid, the construction worker.
Yeah.
Now, as a 43-year-old, I'm like, man, I kind of wish it was real. I want the boy
Yeah.
to go to Mars. I want the adventure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so watching it again, I was like, yeah, no, I think it's real because my big thing is he had to dream about it,
Yeah.
and his kind of obsession with Mars. But then again,
Yeah.
I
And then him seeing, because he doesn't really see the face in the screen when he's trying to describe his type of woman, quote unquote, right?
right,
And then you see Melina's face, but he had already dreamt about her. So is
right,
he hallucinating her face on like the 3D model thing on the TV
right,
screen, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, but then again, like before I went to Hong Kong, I used to be obsessed with going to Hong Kong, and I
Mm-hmm.
had dreams about going to Hong Kong, and that's what I wanted to do, and I went
Mm-hmm.
to Hong Kong. But it does it's very interesting. It's a movie that I feel like it's not getting enough credit because one, it deals with this whole simulation thing, right?
It actually is not like most people when they think of the Verhoeven sci-fi, they think of RoboCop as the number one. But for me, no way. For me, it is
Right,
Total Recall. Definitely,
right.
definitely Total Recall.
Well,
Yeah,
to me, like when people talk about the simulation, blah blah blah, they mention Matrix, but I think Matrix blows. I'm sorry, guys, I never liked
I don't like
Matrix.
the Matrix
I so
either.
I when the
I don't
Matrix
like
first
it
came out,
either.
I was like all hyped about it because I thought I was going to see a cyberpunk movie. I actually was like, oh, we're going to see like a movie like Total Recall that's going to make me question reality and that kind of stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
play with like the cyberpunk themes. And I had this idea because it was what's his name? Keanu Reeves,
Reeves, yeah.
who played a giant mnemonic in like the only cyberpunk movies of, ever, right? Which was
Mm-hmm.
based on the short story Giant Mnemonic by William Gibson, who wrote
Mm-hmm.
Neuromancer, right? And it also
Mm-hmm.
has Molly Millions in the movie. It's like a prequel to Neuromancer, basically with Molly Millions in
Mm-hmm.
it. But I was expecting a cyberpunk movie because I'm really big into I was big into cyberpunk in like that era. Like I loved like Shadowrun. I loved the role playing game Cyberpunk. I loved the role playing game Shadowrun. I loved all like cyberpunk was what I was really big into. And
Mhm.
it was disappointing because I felt like I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is like a stupid fucking alien thing, you know? And I
Mhm.
hate that, right? And I was like, and it was so clear cut. Like there was no ambiguity, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool. All right. So now all the
Yeah.
humans are just batteries, blah, blah, blah. It's like too on the nose. And what I
Mhm.
liked about Total Recall is this ambiguity. It's like,
Yeah.
is he living in a fake world? Is this a fantasy? Is this a scripted? Like,
Mhm.
are all these plot holes, or are they just the retarded plot holes of just the absurdity of existence? Right? You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Like real life has plot holes in it too, right?
right, because
Yep.
we go through
Yep.
life and everything is so stupid, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, is that we're living in a simulation? Like
Yeah.
you know, like you got like the president's son smoking crack in the White House or whatever, you know, like that kind of stuff. That's not
Yeah.
real, you know. Like it's gotta be fake.
I
Or some
think
of the
I
like
think it's is it a David Lynch quote where he says people expect art to make sense, but real life doesn't make sense. I'm paraphrasing, but
right,
something
something like
like
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's David Lynch. Yeah, but
right.
art has to make sense, but real life doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like Matrix was a disappointing because, and then it just gets dumb in the second and third movie. I've never actually, like, I don't think I've ever seen the third movie. I've never watched it. I never even bothered with it. But so I remember walking out of Matrix being disappointed because I'm like, okay, it was cool visually, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I'm like, "Ugh, I wish it was smarter. You know, I wish it like, and that's why I like ambiguity. You know, there are some people who
Who
read a
hate
novel who
ambiguity.
hate
They don't like it.
ambiguity,
They don't
right?
like it at all. Me no want to think.
They don't like open endings, right? And
Yeah.
they don't like open endings. And you know, the big show that I was kind of like kind of championing recently was that kind of like digital animation, the Amazing Digital Circus, which
Yeah.
obviously ended. It also dealt with like an unreality world,
Hmm.
right? I'm not going to spoil that because it's still recent, so I think you should go watch it on YouTube or on Netflix, The Amazing Digital Circus. But it also deals with, is this world real? Are we real? What's going on, right? And there was a lot of ambiguity at the end, where like, but why? But why?
Hmm.
And it was ambiguity of, but why did certain things happen? And I really like that. I
Yeah.
am a fan of open-ended endings in novels
Yeah.
and
It things
shows and that kind of stuff.
when you finish something and then you have to think about it more. Like um yeah, I like being able to think about things. And then there's like well, it's the same reason. So one of my favorite science fiction series is Book of the New Sun. And look at how much is out there for people analyzing it and trying to pick it
Right.
apart and like thinking about all these events that happen in the book as proof of one thing or another. And like yeah, when I first finished Book of the New Sun, I almost immediately wanted to go back to the first book and start reading it all over again.
Right.
Uh, and because it makes you think, it makes you really like when you first read it, you're like, oh, that's weird. Uh, and then you finish it, and then you go, oh, okay.
Right.
And then you read it again, and you understand it more, right? Yeah,
And like I feel like I'm about due for a reread of the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, by the way, if you're
by
not
Gene
familiar
Wolfe. Yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's the thing. Like some people crave the tying of all loose ends. You know, this kind of
Yeah. Like
obsessive, like
I'm sure that the things that I love about, say, Book of the New Sun, I'm sure you could probably go on Goodreads and find a 1-star review, people hating it because it's like, this is weird. This is way too weird. Why does it
right,
feel like a fantasy world when there's supposed to be sci-fi? I feel cheated, like, brain dead shit.
right. It's because the main
Uh,
character is Space Jesus, guys.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe,
maybe,
yeah, maybe.
maybe. But
Uh,
yeah, so yeah, there's some people that really don't like nuance. They don't like subtlety. They want
right,
to be spoon fed. um
right.
I do not like being
In
spoon fed too.
in a way, it's my least favorite part of Lord of the Rings. All right. If I had one bad thing to say about Lord of the Rings, is that it ties it up too well.
Well,
You
that's why
know,
my favorite part of the books is the Tom Bombadil part.
right? Because you're
Because
just like, what the fuck
it's
is
just
this?
it's just a merry time. It's just a fun little, why did he put this in here?
Right.
Okay. And
Like,
they
who
keep
is
reading.
this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he here? You
What
know?
is, yeah,
Yeah.
singing
No,
a
I
little
like
song.
that. So, and like, it's interesting because like if you look at like, there's, I like some like medium slop kind of novels, right? Like airport
Hmm.
novels and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my favorite kind of, nah, it's not really slop. They're like medium grade kind of, but like they're
Yeah.
not like hyper intellectual. I like Tana French, right? And she's this American
Mhm.
that lives in Ireland, and she writes this Dublin squad like police
Okay.
novels, right? And I've got
Mhm.
a thing for like detective novels. I like them. I
Okay.
like them dark, and the Dublin Murder Squad. She basically follows two detectives in every book, but like
Hmm.
in book one, like the side characters in book one become the main characters in book two, and on and on and on, basically, you know. And
Hmm.
it's it's pretty like I don't know, they're pretty good. I like them. I read them all. But in the first one, it's called In the Woods, and there's a lot of ambiguity. There's an A and B plot, and the
Hmm.
A plot is like the murder that obviously gets solved, but there's like a B plot, which is another murder that took place in another time, kind of, that
Yeah.
never gets solved. It's left ambiguous, right?
Hmm.
Like what happens, and you read the reviews, and people just hate that. Like
Hmm.
hate that. And
Hmm.
anything of like, and I like, for example, I like a lot of weird magical realism stuff. I like Haruki Murakami. I like all the different like, you know, I feel like the journey is more important than the destination, and I
Yeah.
don't want things explained. And I
Hmm.
often feel like when you explain things, you take away the magic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, that's like, okay. So going back to Book of the New Sun, so there's the first four books, and then there's technically the fifth book, which is called Earth. And I have read that one once, whereas I've read the first four several times. But the reason that I don't like rereading Earth is that it is way too explainy, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you have to read it," so blah blah blah. So I did. Um, but yeah, it's just it almost, I almost would prefer having not read that one. So if anybody out there who wants to read Book of the New Sun, it's totally up to you. You can not read Earth if you don't want to. If you want things more explained, read Earth. If you really like the ending of uh Book of the New Sun, the first four, you don't have to read it. Anyway, but that's a total
I never read
side
Earth.
topic.
I never read Earth of
Yeah,
the New
it's
Country.
it's explainy. It's a bit
Yeah.
explainy.
And I
I
don't
mean,
like
it's
that.
also his own, like, it's very Gene Wolfe. Like, it's not like it explains it in a Gene Wolfe kind of way. It's still not like
Right.
super, obvious, but
Right.
yeah, I almost
But
would have preferred
you
having
see
not read
that,
it.
and I was thinking about movies, a lot of older movies, and that's one of my favorite things about older movies. That
Mhm.
for some reason in contemporary movies, we're over explainers. Everything has to be explained.
Oh,
You know,
there's you literally can't have nuance in a movie anymore because everybody's on their fucking phones. Like the writers are told, people are going to be on their phones when they watch this, so can you please make this more obvious?
right?
Things are way more explainy. Even the framing in movies now, like, you know, you're told to frame in a way where if it's cropped for vertical fucking video,
Right.
that it still looks good.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody talks in like hyper
Yeah.
exposition. Like, oh, the last season of Stranger Things was unbearable because of that. They were just
I haven't
rehashing
seen
the
it. I don't
plots, and
care
like
enough.
it was good enough as like a
Hmm.
contemporary show, but it was like, oh my gosh, like you have to like re-explain the
It
whole
was it
plot,
was
you
made
know?
for TikTok brain. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think Bret Easton Ellis says it in his book White. He's like, a movie like Jaws was
Hmm.
amazing because Jaws was a shark, and it never explained why the fuck Jaws was eating people. All right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jaws was just a shark. He's a big fucking shark, and he's fucking eating
Yeah.
people. That's all that
Yeah.
matters, right? If Jaws was
You
made
can't do a serious movie like that anymore. It would wind up
right,
being a comedy.
right. If
The
you did a
only way that
movie,
you'd be able to make Jaws now is if it was a fucking humongous millennial quip joke fucking fest. It would,
Right, but right, if you made him, if they made Jaws today, they'd be like explain Jaws. Oh, because global warming made the shark travel north or something like that, and it would be like a background and a
yeah,
psychological analysis of the
yeah,
shark or something like that. No, it's just a fucking shark, bro. It just wants to eat you. You know, and
yeah,
that's where the alien movies suffer, like all the stupid ass like Alien versus Predator and all the later Alien stuff where it
mhm,
explains what like
yeah.
or
That's
like
why the first one is the best because
right
it's
because
just an
it
evil
doesn't
bitch
explain it.
alien. Yeah,
You're like, it's some kind of fucked up thing that come out of an
yeah,
egg. There was some kind of weird navigator thing or whatever the
hmm,
hell that was, some other alien. And yeah, so it just left this open world for your own
hmm,
imagination. You had
yeah,
that in Star Wars too. I mean, for us that were old enough to live before the prequels or whatever, right?
hmm,
Like we remember like Obi-Wan Kenobi telling Luke about the Clone Wars or your dad died in the Clone Wars or whatever, right?
hmm,
And you're like, man, there's gonna be so cool, the Clone Wars. And it was just ass. It was just ass, like your imagination of the Clone Wars were is always going to be better than whatever CGI George Lucas era stuff came
hmm,
out, right? And I think that's why like my generation hates the prequels, right?
hmm,
Because we felt like they over explained something that we imagined before they were shown
yeah,
to us. And
yeah,
no amount of prequel would ever live to our expectations. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, especially when stuff like the Clone Wars were hinted at in the original movies,
Well,
And
that's like Boba Fett. You know, he
right,
was barely in the first, but he got such a huge fandom, and then they have to like fucking make the Mandalorian and all that.
right, and they have to like
Yeah,
do this and
whatever.
explain it away and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Now he's a part of a tribe, and he can just be a cool dude that just
just
does
let him be
bounty
a
hunter
cool
stuff.
bounty hunter. Just let
No,
him
he's got
have
to
his
be a
moment in the movie. Yeah,
this weird tribe with like these fucking rules and stuff, and like just I hate that,
yeah,
right? Like that's why I hate all of it, right? Over explaining shit in movies is stupid. Having too much lore, and you see that in like because you're a fantasy writer, and
mm,
um, you see that in a lot of people that are like making their like fantasy stories or whatever. Shut up, nobody cares. Okay, stop
yeah,
doing that. All right, like
yeah,
like fantasy writers that like write like the entire like bible of like their background and their like fucking like coin base or whatever and their like
yeah,
merchant alliances and stuff. Nobody cares. Nobody
yeah.
cares. Nobody cares.
And
All
if
right,
if you do wind up doing all that shit, you don't have to include it in the novel.
right, it's better.
You can understand how your world works. The reader does not need to know.
Whatever the reader imagines it being is better than what you wrote. Just know
Yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah,
It's like a weird paradox. It's the
yeah.
truth. And that is one area where I think all writers should take the Hemingway advice and just
Hmm,
make it a freaking, iceberg. All right.
hmm.
Nobody wants to hear about your financial system. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
some people can.
Aragorn's
American
tax
writer,
policy. Yeah,
right? Some people really like the lore, right?
yeah.
That's cool. Put it out there, but it should not be part of the key stuff. And I think it does ruin stuff for a lot of people. All right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, people who want the lore can seek it elsewhere. Like the people who want to enjoy it and imagine things on their own, who don't need the lore, keep them separate, right?
right. I don't know. Like I said, like I know some people like, are really big into like Star Wars, like ship classes and stuff like that. And like, I really like a lot of like Star Trek lore. I'm not gonna lie, I do.
Hmm,
I do like a lot of Star Trek lore.
hmm.
I feel like the more you learn about it, the more it takes away from the mystery. You know,
Yeah.
there's always like this level of mystery that like makes the world interesting.
Mm.
It's like, I don't know if you ever played World of Warcraft when that game first came out. It was cool.
I was too cheap to pay for World of Warcraft, but I was definitely very aware of World of Warcraft. Oh,
Right,
I'm lying to you. I played the when it was still the RTS. I
right. You
played
played the initial
Warcraft 3.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
Warcraft 3. Well, in the
Yeah. And
first
Warcraft 2.
when the MMO came out first, like it was hard and you had to travel everywhere, like basically on foot, and you discovered new zones and the internet was like it was new. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
new. The internet this was in 2004 when it came out.
Hmm.
So the internet was around for a while, but it was still like there
Most
wasn't
normies still weren't on the
yeah,
internet yet.
most normies still weren't on the internet, and there weren't like a million like guide YouTube videos. I don't think YouTube even existed yet,
No, not
and
yet.
Oh, I got thunder and lightning and storm above me. I'm gonna lose power. But yeah, and what was fun about it was that like it took a long time to travel, and each zone was new, and there was no
Hmm.
spoilers, and everybody was discovering stuff on their own
Hmm.
and discovering the lore and the quests and that kind of stuff. Now, it's like all fast travel, everything's super easy to get. So you're like,
Yeah.
it's lost its mystery. All right, guys,
Yeah.
I am having a storm outside my house. I'm probably going to lose like power because I
Oh
live in
dear.
South Carolina. This insane thunderstorm came out of nowhere. I don't think it was even on the news. So, Lisa, thank you for joining us. Thanks for
No
talking
problem
about
at all. I will
our
dork
favorite
out about
movie.
Total Recall anytime.
Yeah.
I love it.
For you guys listening at home, thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, please go ahead and follow Lisa and listen, buy her books because her books
Buy
are
my books.
fantastic.
Yep.
She writes some fantastic, um, you know, she writes some fantastic science fiction and some fantasy. Uh, the total retard himself, Fisto, will be back next week. Uh, he will be back to join us. And if you have not seen Total Recall, watch it for Arnold in the
Yep.
90s, watch it
Yep.
for Sharon Stone in the 90s, and watch it
Yep.
for Quato, okay? Because
Yes.
you have to fight the man, all right? Like
Hmm.
Hauser out there is trying to break
There's so
down.
many. You have to know all the good one-liners that come out of that movie, man. Fuck you, you asshole! That whole scene. Oh,
Right,
that's my favorite part of the whole movie. Anyway,
right. You
with
basically
that
have to
note,
take the side of the mutant
yeah.
Antifa and liberate Mars. All right, good night,
Yeah.
guys. I'm actually gonna have like a tornado here. It's
Oh
crazy.
no.
The
Well, you
weather
be
is
careful.
insane.
Take care of
All right.
yourself.
I will see you guys next week. I don't. Oh, next week we have a guest, I believe, but I'll tell you guys about that on Substack. We'll have this episode edited and out for everybody on Tuesday. And good night. Thank you, Lisa. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night. Thanks for having me on.